judge on Long Island finds himself on the wrong side of the bench. He is accused of stabbing his wife. Police say it happened this morning during an argument at the couple's home in New Hyde Park.
His supervisor describes Judge Paul Kautner as hardworking and conscientious, making this alleged attack seem all the more out of character. Doug Johnson has late details live in New Hyde Park. Doug.
Roz, for 6 years, 51-year-old Paul Kautner has been a county court judge here in Nassau County, sitting on the bench, deciding the fate of those who came before him, charged with various criminal offenses. Now he may face charges himself because his wife is in the hospital with stab wounds. At 8:23 this morning, the judge called 911 asking an ambulance to come to his house. When the police arrived, they found his wife, 46-year-old Mary Gale, had been attacked with a kitchen knife.
They determined that Mrs. Kautner had been stabbed 2 times in the upper left corner of her back, that she was stabbed by the judge with a kitchen knife. She was taken to North Shore University Hospital. She is currently listed in stable condition.
Judge Kautner was first taken to the 3rd Precinct, but because of irrational behavior, he was taken to the Nassau County Medical Center, where he was placed in the psychiatric wing. He is under arrest, but has not been charged. Some neighbors completely surprised by what happened on Maple Court.
I was like totally shocked.
So you had no idea that there was any problem there?
Never. I would never have thought anything. I don't know what could have happened.
Judge Kautner and his wife have 2 daughters. They were not at home at the time. Although some neighbors say that this was a quiet couple, one neighbor said his mother heard them shouting at one another from across the street.
She hears them fighting off, and loud enough to actually go through from the house across over here. I've only seen the father play with the young daughter occasionally. That's all I know, really.
When was the last time she heard them fighting?
I guess it would have been this morning.
Now, Mrs. Kautner is in the hospital, as we heard. She is in stable condition. The judge has been arrested. He is in the psychiatric wing of the Nassau County Medical Center. He has not been charged at this time. It's not clear when he will be charged, not clear what the charges will be. Live in New Hyde Park, Doug Johnson, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Doug, our heavy weather is getting heavier, and Bill Evans is up in the stabbing his wife. Police were called to the New Hyde Park home of Judge Paul Kautner at about 8:30 this morning. When they arrived, they say Kautner's wife had been stabbed twice in the back with a kitchen knife. After his arrest, Judge Kautner was admitted for psychiatric treatment.
The officers reported to investigating detectives that the judge's demeanor appeared to be irrational. He was brought here under arrest. After some observation here, he was sent to Nassau County Medical Center for evaluation.
Mary Gale Kautner is listed in stable condition.
Well, here's a story you just couldn't make.
Telling us it was the judge himself who called 911 from his New Hyde Park home behind me. When they arrived, they found his wife with 2 stab wounds to her back. They rushed her to the Nassau County Medical Center, suffering from what is believed to be a collapsed lung. Cops say the judge was acting irrationally when they were booking him, so they've now taken him to the hospital as well. This is the courthouse where the respected judge spent most of the past decade. An oil painting of Judge Paul Kautner hangs proudly near the rotunda. This is the judge today in handcuffs, just after his arrest for the stabbing of his wife, Mary Gale. There appears to be blood on his shoulder. We are told her wounds are not life-threatening.
I just can't believe that Judge Kautner would do anything wrong. But what should be understood is that he's got a disabled child, which tears at his heart all day long.
Friends and colleagues in the Nassau County courts are tearful, saying they are unable to understand what could have caused him to snap. The DA expects to be charging his judge with assault 3rd degree, but the case may have to be moved to Queens or Suffolk counties because Judge Kautner is so respected here.
I would say that he was controversial in terms of being a bruff, running a tough courtroom.
He's a no-nonsense judge. He always had control of his courtroom.
Police responded to the judge's own 911 call at 8:30 this morning and found him in the kitchen of their New Hyde Park in his hand, his wife with 2 wounds to her back. On the street where the judge and his wife are raising 2 teenage daughters, neighbors say the couple is often out walking together, taking care to spend time with their children.
They're very lovely people. They're very family-oriented. He adored his wife and his children.
Tonight, no motive has been offered except by one close friend who said perhaps the stress of having a handicapped daughter, some family health problems, and life on the bench may have contributed to this unsettling crime. We're live in New Hyde Park, Long Island. Jennifer McLogan, News 2.
Jennifer, thanks.
They're already set up here in Bayshore, where his supporters say this local boy, originally from West Islip, Long Island, is their choice.
Rick is pro-business, he's pro-people, he's pro-New York.
He is really for Long Island and New York. Even my sister up in Elmira is willing to vote for him.
Congressman Lazio lives in Bayshore, Long Island, with his wife Patricia and 2 young daughters. If people don't know his name now, they soon will, as he takes on the First Lady in this Senate race.
Young child who appears to be 2 or 3 years of age.
Suffolk County Police say this was just one of 15 child pornography images distributed on the internet by 41-year-old Lawrence Bargelini. Police say the Brentwood, Long Island resident and father of 3 took part in an international cyber crime.
You can go all over the world and sign on to different computer systems. In the Netherlands, they were listed in England, they were listed in Germany. And from there, you can go into literally hundreds of rooms that are devoted to these sexually explicit things.
Police say it was an undercover German investigator trying to crack down on child pornography that led police to Bargelini. The investigator went into a child pornography chat room, asked to exchange files, and then downloaded them. Then investigators say these files were traced through cyberspace back to Bargelini's address.
They create these rooms for short periods of time so they can go ahead and exchange child pornography between them. What they do is they basically almost have like a little advertisement. I'll give you this.
Because I have grandchildren, great-grandchildren coming here. And I just can't believe that happened on this block, really.
Police say Bargelini, an electrician, didn't take part in child pornography for money. Police say these cyber stalkers are in it for one thing.
With child pornographers, the treasure for them is having a large quantity of pornography.
Bargelini faces charges of promoting an obscene sexual performance by a child and criminal possession of marijuana. If convicted, he could face up to 7 years in jail. I'm Shelley Carey, UPN 9 News.
And there, an international pornography sting leads investigators to Long Island. Coming up on Eyewitness News at 5:30 tonight, police bust a man they say used the internet to distribute obscene pictures of children. We have late details.
Also ahead, a massive fire roars. An arrest in Suffolk County in a case of child pornography on the internet. Police say the man in custody distributed pictures of an obscene sex performance by a child. This is a case that stretched all the way from Wiesbaden, Germany to Brentwood, Long Island.
That's right, Roz. These cases of distributing child pornography on the internet are showing up with alarming frequency. This latest one led police to a man in Brentwood. Long Island correspondent Lauren DeFranco now with the story.
41-year-old Lawrence Bargelini is a father of 3, but police say he was involved in a crime nearly every parent views as unscrupulous and unacceptable. Investigators say Bargelini was collecting and trading child pornography in a chat room on the internet.
The people depicted were a number of ages in there, but there's one where the child victim appears to be 2 or 3 years of age, a little boy of that age.
The way the system works is you offer up a portion of your inventory to get other pictures from other people.
Yesterday afternoon, detectives seized a computer, videotapes, and discs from Bargelini's home in Brentwood. But the investigation began overseas in Wiesbaden, Germany, where an undercover computer investigator made contact with a suspect in a chat room, and they began swapping pornography over the World Wide Web. That German investigator notified the U.S. Customs Cyber Task Force in Virginia that the explicit pictures were coming from a computer in the States, and the task force narrowed the search down to 124 Statham Street in Brentwood. One neighbor didn't want to be identified, but told us she was surprised and concerned for all of the families living nearby.
They're lovely children, very nice kids.
Does it worry you?
Sure.
Chris Iam, director of computer operations for Dowling College, admits one arrest makes little impact on such a pervasive problem. Sex is free on the net, but parents need to monitor their children.
You wouldn't send a child into a rough neighborhood unescorted. You wouldn't send a child onto the internet unescorted. You should be with, especially a young child.
In Brentwood, Long Island, Lauren DeFranco, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Lauren tells us if convicted, Bargelini could face 7 years behind bars. Told the police she is in stable condition. Was arraigned today following a fight with his wife at their New Hyde Park home. Police say the judge stabbed his wife, Mary Gale, twice in the back and then called the police. She is in stable condition. Kautna has been a criminal court judge in Nassau County since 1994.
A new computer virus is on the loose.
Nassau County will tell you they caught some cashing in on workman's comp, basically stealing your tax money. The DA says they caught it all on tape. They even busted one guy who couldn't work, but he could scuba dive. Andrea Day's in our bureau on Long Island right now. Andrea.
Well, John, insurance fraud costs the industry $120 billion every year. That's why special units have been set up to stop these guys in their tracks.
If you want to commit fraud, go right ahead, but unfortunately, if you get caught, you're going to pay the price.
It's a message investigators are sending to the thousands who cheat the system. We'll be watching. Take Arthur Kraft. He worked as a flagman on construction sites until he was hit by a car on the job.
And he claimed that the injury to his shoulder prevented him from lifting his arms.
Here, he clearly has no problem, and undercover cameras caught much more.
He's in full scuba gear. He's got the flippers, the mask, and the tank on his back.
Kraft opened up a scuba recovery business and was caught diving for goods. Over the past 3 years, he raked in $30,000 from his insurance company. Then there's Juan Martinez. He, too, claimed he was unable to work. But here he is, caught on tape.
Where he's climbing up ladders, carrying heavy items.
It was all they needed to bust him for fraud. This is Yuri Mazafi. He owns 5 stores in the city and claims to be totally disabled. But this didn't look like a disability to investigators, and there's a lot more out there. The Nassau DA arrested 11 people, all charged with insurance fraud.
If you've ever wondered why your insurance premiums are so high, you have guys like Kraft and Martinez to blame. Insurance fraud costs the average family more than $2,000 every year.
Just undermines the whole system. And it can destroy the system of taking care of the workers that are truly injured.
Andrea Day, Fox 5 News.
Now, everyone arrested today will face charges later in court. If convicted, they face up to 7 years behind bars. We're live in the Long Island Bureau. I'm Andrea Day.
Not Memorial Day officially yet, of course, but that hasn't stopped folks across the tri-state from celebrating this unofficial kickoff to summer with style. So Memorial Day isn't off to a picture-perfect start. Most agree it could use a lot more sunshine for starters.
There's no sun out.
But make no mistake, the holiday weekend got a clean start in Jones Beach at the world's biggest shower. It was all part of a promotion by Lever 2000 Soap.
Oh, Jones Beach is awesome. It's like the coolest place to be. We all go.
Sounds like fun, but it doesn't sound like the water was much warmer than the weather.
It's real cold out here today. The wind's blowing. I think the weather should get a little bit better, but it feels good. I was just in the shower.
It was smooth sailing at a much more quiet Point Pleasant Beach in New Jersey. The sunblock was out, but there wasn't much sun to block. Still, beachgoers found it a great day to relax. But sun or no sun, Memorial Day weekend is still a hit in the Bronx at this stickball tournament. Dozens took part in this favorite old neighborhood tradition. Central Park is the place to be if you're not sure how you want to spend the weekend. Either biking, boating, blading, or just basking. Take your pick. Of course, anything goes. And an refund.
We might want a refund on this weekend. This is the day that beaches opened in the tri-state area for the summer season, and there were quite a few die-hard sun worshipers who were not going to allow some chilly temperatures to get in the way of a good time.
It's supposed to be the first day of the summer season of the new millennium, but it looks like it's not off to a flying start.
It's real cold out here today. The wind's blowing. I think the weather should get a little bit better.
Here at Jones Beach, there were lots more people on the boardwalk than on the beach itself, but only about 20,000 showed up this year as opposed to 80,000 last year. Nonetheless, the beach is getting raves.
Oh, Jones Beach is awesome. It's like the coolest place to be. We all go. Everybody's doing it, I'm telling you.
Last year, temps were a sizzling 90 degrees with the water temperature clocking in at 70 degrees. This year, water temperature in the 50s. And while the temperatures weren't breaking any records, they were trying to break a record of a different sort with the world's biggest shower. It was all in good, clean fun with 80 feet of comfy, warm water, plenty of sudsy customers lining up to take part.
We really wanted to set a Guinness Book of World Records and build the world's biggest shower, which is right behind me. So we're hoping that everybody's going to come out here and do this with us.
And in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, the first day of summer had toddlers bundled up and adults running for sweatshirts.
Yeah, we were actually going to buy some sweatshirts. That's how cold it was, around 10:30, 11. And then it actually got warmer now.
But here at the shore, where hope springs eternal, the chilly weather is a mere bump in the long road toward Labor Day, a little less than a score of weekends away.
Actually, the turnout was even better than we expected today. We spent the last couple weeks making sure the beach was clean and the water's clean. The water's starting to warm up now, and we're ready for a good summer.
Somehow I think it looked a little cooler than it really was today.
Talk about having good, clean fun. Beachgoers at Jones Beach got a chance to lather up and enter the Guinness Book of World Records. Sponsored by a soap company, who else? The idea was to create the world's biggest shower. Now, the shower was 75 feet long, 12 feet tall, and had 26 shower locker room. Guess you could say it didn't rain, but there were plenty of showers at Jones Beach, and I think the writer, Jeff, was full of himself as he was writing that, wasn't he?
You've been in a locker room? Is that how you know these things?
Yeah, right. I've been a few places in my life. All right, we're going to talk about the weather.
Hold that soap tight, that's all. Anyhow. Right?
Okay, so you're telling me we didn't see the sun much today, but it wasn't a bad day.
Not a bad day, but the whole...
We'll take another look at live pictures from Holtzville out on Long Island, a recycling plant burning right now, out of control. Firefighters, dozens of them from at least 7 towns right now battling the blaze. We are told it is growing bigger still. Of course, we'll keep you updated.
Yeah. Wow. That is. And we have this breaking news just into Eyewitness News. Fire on Long Island burning out of control at a recycling plant there. What you're looking at is a live picture. This fire burning in Holtzville. Dozens of firefighters from at least 7 towns are battling the very intense flames at this very hour. The fire broke out a little more than an hour ago. So far, we have no reports of any injuries, but we will keep you up to date as we get new information.
Tonight, we want to take another look at that breaking story we told you about earlier, the massive fire burning out of control on Long Island.
What you're looking at right now is a live picture of the recycling plant fire in Holtzville. Firefighters from 4 communities are there battling this blaze, and officials are also calling in foaming equipment from MacArthur Airport and the West Hampton Air Base. As we've been telling you for the past 20 minutes, we have no reports of any injuries at this point, but we'll have more on the fire on Eyewitness News this morning starting at 5 a.m. Wow.
All right. That's it for us for now. Thanks for watching.
It's Wednesday, May 31st, 2000. In the headlines this morning, firefighters by the dozens battle through the night against a huge fire at a recycling center on Long Island.
On the heels of the GOP.
A powerful start beating Dallas 7-3 in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Happy Wednesday to you, and good morning, everyone. I'm Lori Stokes.
And I'm Michelle Charlesworth. Rob Hanrahan has the morning off.
Let's check in. Bill Evans. Situation worse for firefighters on Long Island. Units from 15 towns are battling a fierce fire at a tire recycling center in Holtzville. You're looking at live pictures of the scene right now. The fire started at the American Lumber Company last night, just before 10 p.m. A mountain of used tires there is burning. There is no word yet on any injuries so far. The trains, apparently, we're hearing from John Del Giorno, are running about 15 minutes behind schedule.
Lori, in other news this morning, a high school prank that
at a live picture in Holtzville on Long Island of a terrible fire that's going on that's at a tire recycling center in Holtzville where some 15 towns emergency vehicles are there trying to get this fire under control.
We understand it's causing a little bit of a problem with traffic this morning. Jonan? Oh, sorry, let's check in with John Del Giorno.
Good morning,
John?
Michelle. We can take you outside. We'll give you a live report from over the scene here out in Holtzville, Long Island. You're looking at one of 4 tower ladders that is set up around this burning recycling plant. To recap, this is a tire recycling plant. The name of it is American Lumber, but it's not a lumber company. This is a plant where they recycle tires, 29 Barrett Avenue, just off of Waverly Avenue. Waverly, a pretty well-traveled road through this area. You can see just a huge plume of smoke coming off of this fire, which has been burning now for over 7 hours. The fire is not yet under control, There are 15 fire departments here on the scene, and the fire continues to burn. You can see several hot spots down in the flames. Now, two things to note. This fire is well off the Long Island Expressway, so we won't see any effect out there. However, we are only about a block off of the Long Island Railroad tracks. Now, last night they did have some problems with trains getting through here. Long Island Railroad saying so far this morning they're not anticipating any problems. At worst, you might see what happened last night. Trains running with delays, slowdowns through the area. But we'll keep you updated as this fire continues to burn in Suffolk County. And we're live over Holtsville. John Del Giorno, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, John. We'll check in with you a little later. It's also some stories. We're going to go to John Del Giorno for more on that. John?
Well, Michelle, we can take you outside again, show you live pictures as firefighters continue to battle this blaze out here. This smoke plume is rising about 700-800 feet up into the air. It is surrounded by tower ladders here again. This fire has been burning for over 7.5 hours, and the fire department still has not declared it under control. The name of the company is American Lumber, but this is a tire recycling plant, not a lumber plant, and firefighters have had a big-time problem trying to get this under control. As a matter of fact, on the right side of your screen, you can see a bulldozer actually operating down in the flames, just trying to push some of those tires out of the building so that they won't burn anymore. Now, you did mention Long Island Railroad has tracks that run through here about a block away. Last night, they were operating with delays, just slowing the trains down through the area. We're just getting word now again that they are slowing trains down this morning. They are now reporting 5 to 15-minute delays on Long Island Railroad service between Holtsville and Medford. So keep that in mind for commuters coming in from Suffolk County this morning. You might find some slowdowns. The LIE far affected, but the fire continues to burn. Just got word there are now 19 fire departments on the scene. 4 additional fire departments called in from out of town.
The cause of the fire is under investigation.
An advertising blimp out on Long Island made a pretty rough landing this afternoon. No one was hurt, but the blimp had to be untangled from the trees near Republic Airport in Farmingdale. We're told that the pilots were trying to land there. They came in too low. They got caught up in treetops. Mechanics say that the damage was minimal.
New York is getting tough.
Well, a blimp lifted off from a Long Island airport this morning, but not for long and not far. The lumbering blimp ended up crashing into trees near Republic Airport in Farmingdale. It happened about 11 o'clock this morning. The pilot was in the air for only a few seconds when he tried to turn around and make an emergency landing, but he ended up squeezed between trees. One of the engines apparently failed upon takeoff.
In Edison, they say it pays to advertise, but one advertising blimp almost bought itself a heap of trouble. It crashed. The blimp had just lifted off from Farmingdale Airport on Long Island when it suddenly lost altitude. Ground crewmen ran into the woods to retrieve the crippled airship, pulling it back onto the tarmac. There were no reports of injury or property damage.
An early morning collision.
A blaze at an apartment building in Hempstead, Long Island has left dozens of people homeless tonight. Police tell us that it started when a 2-year-old was playing with a lighter and accidentally set a bed on fire last night. The child is okay, but the flames spread and destroyed 24 apartments before firefighters could put it out. There were several minor injuries.
They put out that stinky fire in Holtsville at the American Lumber and Island-wide recycling company. Chapter 5 took a look at the place this morning. It looks a lot different from when the fire started last night. Hundreds of old tires went up in flames. The company was storing those tires illegally. And road crews in Jersey had a real mess on their hands this morning. A tractor trailer overturned on Route 78 in Bernardsville.
Dijeran sobre el paradero de su madre. El hombre disparó su arma a la puerta del dormitorio donde se habían encerrado los hijos. Una bala alcanzó a uno de ellos y le mató. Y en Patterson, New Jersey, una niña de 17.
Police on Long Island are telling us a very sad and a tragic story tonight about a man who couldn't take it that his wife walked out on him, so he was ready to kill his 2 sons if necessary to find out where she went. And now he's charged with murder. Andrea Day tells what happened in the family home in Brentwood, Long Island.
He was so obsessed with his wife who left him, detectives say Carlos Barrientos would stop at nothing to find her, even killing his 21-year-old son when he refused to tell him where she was.
I thought somebody had dropped something. I didn't know what was shooting going on. I didn't even associate it with a shooting until I saw the cops out there.
And then you found out. What you think?
Like I said, you know, he had to be out of his mind to take his own kid's life.
The tragedy unfolded in this Brentwood home early yesterday morning. John and his 16-year-old brother Richard were shaken out of bed to the sound of a trigger. It was their father pointing a sawed-off shotgun straight at John. For some reason, the gun didn't go off, and they locked themselves in the room to call 911. But Barrientos didn't stop. Cops say he fired twice through the door and hit his older son in the chest. He broke down the door and Richard managed to wrestle the gun away. But Carlos rearmed himself with a kitchen knife and went in for more.
When police arrived a few minutes later, they found the surviving son and his father engaged in a hand-to-hand combat wherein the son was trying to disarm his father with a knife.
But John, who graduated from Brentwood High, was dead.
John was an outstanding student, Andrea. It's really a very, very sad situation.
The couple apparently had a long history of conflict, and she had called the cops at least 6 times before. But about a month ago, it became too much to take, so she moved out.
There's evidence that he may have intended, had things not worked out, to assault his son and/or possibly commit suicide in his own right.
Barrientos is now charged with second-degree murder and being held without bail. In Brentwood, Long Island, Andrea Day, Fox 5 News.
The family has ended with the arrest of a father for the murder of his own son. Police say 43-year-old Carlos Barrientos was enraged because his 2 sons refused to tell him where his estranged wife was staying. During an argument, Barrientos allegedly fired a shotgun through the door of a bedroom, killing his 21-year-old son, John.
The victim himself, after he got shot, wrestled with his father and ended up dying after a small wrestling match. The surviving son then wrestled with the father, got the shotgun away from him.
Police say when they arrived at the Brentwood home, that surviving son, 16-year-old Richard, was wrestling with his father, who at that point had a knife. The teenager remains hospitalized. The father was arraigned this morning on the charge of second-degree murder. In New Jersey,
on Long Island has injured nearly a dozen students there. It happened in Roosevelt when the bus collided with an SUV. 11 students were taken to the hospital and they were treated for minor injuries. The driver of the truck was also injured. Police are now investigating the cause of the crash.
Long Island police say a 29-year-old man posed as an employee of the Long Island Power Authority in order to enter a home and rob an elderly woman. Tony Eli allegedly told the 77-year-old victim that he was delivering a refund because she overpaid her bill. While left alone for a moment, police say Eli took money and escaped. Eli was arrested after a similar incident in New York City just yesterday.
Round of assaults against West Nile virus, and not a minute too soon, because now there are more signs of the disease in our area. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Ritter.
And I'm Diana Williams. There is more evidence tonight that the West Nile virus spread by mosquitoes is back in our area. Dead crows infected with the virus have been found in New York and New Jersey. And tonight, health officials in Suffolk County, Long Island, began spraying to wipe out mosquitoes. But already there's controversy. NJ Burkett is live in Oak Beach with details. NJ?
Diana, Oak Beach on the south shore of Long Island, one of several communities here in Suffolk County, sprayed tonight to control the West Nile virus. But when the trucks tried to spray one neighborhood, some homeowners actually called the police and kicked them out.
Suffolk County's mosquito trucks hit the streets at sunset and were turned away at their very first stop. Residents of West Gilgo Beach, a private community, said they were more worried about the insecticide than the mosquitoes themselves.
We're worried about the insecticide. The mosquitoes are always going to be around, no matter what you spray for. They're always going to be around, as far as I'm concerned.
West Nile hasn't always been around.
No, but we don't feel that that's a threat right now.
The county planned ground level spraying on the North Shore in Smithtown and on the South Shore in West Gilgo, Oak Beach, and the Fire Island Coast Guard Station. The spraying went off as scheduled in every community but West Gilgo Beach.
Of course, they're going to be using the pesticides that are registered and approved by the EPA. There is no health-related issue concerning this spraying.
Suffolk's mosquito spraying comes on the same day that West Nile virus was discovered in crows in Rockland County and Bergen County, New Jersey.
We don't know where those birds are from. They could be from without the county. They can be from almost anywhere.
So far, of all the mosquitoes tested in Rockland County, officials say none has tested positive for the West Nile virus. In Suffolk, health officials are spraying an EPA-approved chemical insecticide called Scourge. And not everyone in Gilgo Beach was happy to see the trucks turned away.
I'm concerned about the West Nile virus, and we've had a big rain here. There's a lot of standing water and puddles around the community. So certainly my first thought is that I would like to be protected from the virus.
Clearly, the dispute in West Gilgo is far from over, and experts fear there may be more and more of them in other communities as officials try to control the West Nile virus. Live tonight, Oak Beach, Long Island. NJ Burkett, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Weather that struck the tri-state area, while temperatures tied or fell just short of hitting record highs. In many places, it felt like it was 105 degrees because of the heat index. In Weehawken, New Jersey, the haze was evident as it rose above the city skyline. While in Central Park, the Harlem Mir Performance Festival presented the Bubba Brooks Quintet as onlookers showed no sign of feeling the heat. Some found the best relief of all was enjoying a cold Italian ice and staying close to the water, which is also the plan at Jones Beach in Long Island, where beachgoers stayed cool and enjoyed some fun in the sun. With tonight's stormy weather, relief should come tomorrow. Larry Cosgrove, UPN 9 News.
Temperatures didn't seem to keep many people indoors today. In fact, those that did go outside, though, tried their best to beat the heat. Thousands of people hit the shores looking for a break from the hot weather. Area beaches were packed. The still chilly ocean water provided heat relief for swimmers, though not everyone was brave enough for the sea. Sunbathers stayed on shore to get that tan started.
Lots of water.
Water was in high demand today, especially for people who couldn't make it to the coast. Food wasn't the only thing sizzling at this street fair on the Upper West Side.
I'm gonna take off my shirt in a minute. Area. I don't have to tell you, it's been hot, it's been humid, it's been hazy. Good day to hit the beach today. Jones Beach, ocean water temperatures are in the lower 60s. Just use that sunscreen. And right now outside, it is very hazy outdoors. It's just unhealthy to be out there. Our live sky cam is showing you the stats.
If you weren't at the parade, the next best place to be had to be the beach. Jones Beach was packed today with people trying to just keep cool. The chilly water probably did the trick for a lot of them, but of course many just hit the sand to soak in the rays and work on that tan. Harry?
Well, Cynthia, a little evening rush hour to the hours of between 4 and 7 o'clock at night.
Rick Lazio isn't taking any weekends off. He's using every opportunity to win over New Yorkers. He shook plenty of hands in Freeport, Long Island. After a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Freeport Nautical Festival, Lazio did a little campaigning in town.
Well, Cynthia, Lazio's opponent, Hillary Clinton, made a campaign.
Some riders in the Long Island Railroad couldn't get their regular train this morning. They weren't stopping at the Westbury station. Death had stopped there earlier. A young woman died in a shocking murder. And Andrea Day says it leaves her family to grieve.
I working 10 o'clock. No come at midnight, no media.
Amelia Moyes' mother still can't believe her daughter is gone, and the grisly murder has the family in shock.
I just feel sad about it. Because she would come over here and I used to talk to her and she would buy me stuff for me.
But early this morning, the 24-year-old was stabbed to death outside the Westbury train station. And cops say they have a mountain of evidence against her boyfriend of 3 years, Jose Manuel Santos. The two worked together at Nathan's in Westbury. She was a cashier and he worked the grill.
They called me this morning and she said Amelia died. Could you tell me what time she left? I said, let me check the computer. When I check, she left at 10:30.
Detectives say she walked to the train station with Santos to grab a cab home. But they started to argue and he became violent.
Santos armed himself with a folding knife and during the altercation plunged that knife into the deceased's neck several times.
Witnesses heard shouts and then screams for help.
Her pants dropped and she collapsed on the floor and I noticed that she had gotten raped, but she was bleeding too much, so I don't know what else had happened to her.
When cops arrived, they found her here, bleeding on the ground and partially nude, but aren't certain right now whether she was raped or if it was consensual sex. Do you have any regrets, Jose? Santos didn't have anything to say, but detectives picked the 38-year-old up a quarter-mile from the scene, covered with blood, and charged him with murder. Andrea Day, Fox 5 News.
In a controversial student program in the Amityville School District. The program grouped children according to their ability, and critics say it segregated students by race. Celeste Ford is here with details for us. Celeste?
Diana, it was a split decision with the Amityville School District voting 4-3 to settle the lawsuit. The plaintiffs charged the district with tracking minority students into a segregated program known as Basic Skills. The classes will still stand, but with a 2-year limit for each student. The Amityville Teachers Association and the NAACP held a news conference in Mineola where they proclaimed the settlement a victory.
We've done something for children that are coming out of kindergarten and were being tracked as basic skills individuals before they could even learn to read.
They charged the Amityville School District with tracking low-performing students. 2 years ago, the board members decided that a single standardized test would determine which children should be placed in a separate setting. The students, mostly black and Hispanic, focused on math and English, but little else.
Music program, band, chorus, orchestra. In addition, they were not allowed to do library work.
As part of the settlement, racism and misconduct charges were dismissed. Today, the superintendent, Rhoda Pierre, said, "I am pleased we are able to provide intensive instruction to the children. The settlement allows us to do that." In the future, a panel of educators will use a number of indicators to place students in the Basic Skills program. In other education news, Mayor Giuliani solidified his hold on the New York City Board of Education today. He hired a sitting member of the board. The mayor insists there is no conflict of interest.
Finally tonight, how far would you go to win tickets to see Ricky Martin in concert? Well, tonight, a very unusual competition for tickets to the Latin Superstar's sold-out concert at Nassau Coliseum.
Unusual or kind of gross? You make the call. 2 listeners of WBLI Radio had to live the Velveeta Loca. Front row Ricky Martin tickets were placed in a kiddie pool filled with Velveeta cheese. There's the blindfolded contestant winner. They had to fish him out after a few minutes. Well, here's a winner. There we go. A winner, but a nifty consolation prize. The loser also got tickets to Ricky Martin's concert.
On Long Island, a man is accused of stealing another man's identity, or at least his name and social security number. The alleged fraud was discovered because of a bit of irony and tough luck for the suspect. To explain, our Long Island correspondent Lauren DeFranco is live in Baldwin. Lauren?
Well, David, this is certainly a strange coincidence, and detectives tell us the chances of something like this happening are actually slim to none. A UPS driver got the shock of his life when he delivered a parcel that had his own name on it. Police say 31-year-old James Stewart was ordering merchandise illegally after obtaining a credit card by lifting another man's social security number. Detectives say Stewart's plan hit a major bump in the road when the UPS guy delivering boxes of ordered merchandise to Stewart's home in Freeport noticed his on the parcel.
Not that that would be so unique, but he has a rather unique name. Seeing this, he checked further into it, along with his security, and established that, yes, this parcel had been ordered from a major retailer, and it corresponded to a credit application in his name with his own personal information.
The UPS driver immediately notified authorities, and yesterday at around 5 o'clock, police arrested Stewart at his home here on J Street.
When I got here, I seen police all up and down the block here, and I seen that they had a friend of mine in the car, you know, which was a neighbor and everything, and I didn't think he would do nothing like that.
He's nice and quiet, and the family's nice and quiet, and they don't bother anybody.
Detectives say Stewart stole the victim's information by picking through discarded trash.
You really have to be careful. Even if you live in a residential neighborhood, there are people who will go through trash and try and get personal documents that you don't take the time to shred or destroy.
And Stewart is charged with possession of stolen property, which is a felony. By the way, we're told he ordered about $1,500 worth of clothes and shoes. Reporting live from the 1st Precinct, Baldwin, Long Island, Lauren DeFranco, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Made a surprise delivery on Long Island when he noticed something fishy about some packages on his route. Andrea Day is now in Baldwin with the story. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Ernabel. Well, he was loading up his truck in the morning and noticed his name on some of the boxes. Trouble is, they weren't going to his address.
And so forth. He checks with his security, who checks with the shipper, one of the major retail stores, who verifies, yes, this was ordered by this person with this Social Security number application on a credit card.
Then, with cops close behind, the UPS driver pulls up to this address in Freeport to make the delivery. When James Stewart accepts the packages, detectives bust him for possession of stolen property. Turns out the 31-year-old got his hands on the driver's Social Security number, and that was all he needed to apply for credit cards.
As everybody's aware, credit is only too forthcoming from many of the retailers, and they in turn ship these items, and there you are.
Detectives say he ordered about $1,500 worth of clothes and shoes and had plans for a lot more, never thinking he had stolen the delivery man's identity. Now, detectives say he got the Social Security number by going through the driver's garbage. A big lesson for us all to learn when we throw that stuff out. We're live in Baldwin, Long Island. I'm Andrea Day, Fox 5 News. Ernabel, back to you.
Thank you, Andrea. You know, you can't make...
Lands a Long Island man in jail for allegedly stealing a UPS driver's ID. Police say James Stewart of Freeport applied for a credit card using the delivery man's name and Social Security number and ordered merchandise. While making his routine deliveries, the UPS driver saw his own name on a package to an address that was not his. He phoned police. Stewart was arrested for possession of stolen property.
Funeral services were held this afternoon for a man who was beaten to death after spending the day enjoying the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Mourners said goodbye to Eric Rivera in Uniondale today. The 20-year-old was murdered after being attacked by a group of men as he walked home from the Hempstead train station. Rivera had spent the day with friends at the parade. Police say they have no motive or suspects. Some frightening moments.
A funeral today for a Long Island man beaten to death in an apparent bias attack. Family and friends gathered in Uniondale to mourn for 20-year-old Eric Rivera. He was beaten by a gang armed with baseball bats. Police say the attackers may have been members of a Salvadoran gang targeting Puerto Ricans. There have been no arrests in the case.
Island man beaten to death last Sunday was laid to rest in Uniondale. Police say Eric Rivera was coming home from the Puerto Rican Day Parade when he was attacked by a mob carrying baseball bats. The deadly assault happened near the Long Island Railroad station in Hempstead. Police say they're still not sure why Rivera was attacked.
There is a tragic...
And a Long Island man beaten to death by a mob was laid to rest today. Friends and family of 20-year-old Eric Rivera attended a funeral mass in Uniondale. Rivera was returning from the Puerto Rican Day Parade when he was attacked by a dozen men with baseball bats. This afternoon, members of a group called Helping End the Violence Now held a vigil in the corner in at the corner in Uniondale where Rivera was killed. Investigators have not determined if the attack was gang-related.
Calling it an immense privilege, Edward Egan takes charge of the New York Archdiocese and his new flock of more than 2 million Catholics. Good evening, everyone. I'm David Ushery in for Sandra Bookman. Egan's new position is considered the most prominent and influential Catholic post in America. 3,000 worshipers witnessed today's majestic ceremony, and it is just a preview to tomorrow's elaborate installation mass. Cheryl Fiandaca reports.
Welcomed with thunderous applause by a standing room only crowd at St. Patrick's Cathedral, Bishop Edward Michael Egan officially became the 9th Archbishop of New York in what the church calls a ceremony of canonical possession.
I humbly stand before each and every priest, religious, and member of the laity at this beautiful service to announce that I come only to serve you.
Archbishop Egan's humility was warmly received by the hundreds of clergy and parishioners who watched the traditional installation ceremony, which included the symbolic kissing of the crucifix and a blessing with holy water before the reading of the apostolic letter of appointment sent by the Pope.
Pope John Paul has placed the care of this archdiocese into the hands of Archbishop Edward Michael Egan.
Once the letter was accepted and archived, the new Archbishop took his place on the altar and thanked the Holy Father.
Small wonder that I seize the opportunity whenever I can to thank our Holy Father, Pope John Paul II, for this assignment.
For the past 12 years, Archbishop Egan served the Bridgeport, Connecticut diocese and is best known for his concern for Catholic education and his work as an administrator.
So if there's any man who could fill the big shoes of Cardinal O'Connor, this is the man, Archbishop Edward M. Egan.
Tough shoes to fill, and they're very different men.
but I think that he'll bring a lot to New York City.
A spokesperson for the new Archbishop says he plans to conduct a listening tour over the summer to get acquainted with his new diocese, which he says he fell in love with 3.5 years ago when he was appointed auxiliary bishop to New York. At St. Patrick's Cathedral, I'm Cheryl Fiandaca, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Very much. A pair of aspiring rap artists from Cleveland, Ohio have been busted in connection with the Wendy's massacre. Bernard Gardier and Jamal Gales are charged with illegally selling the gun used in the killings. Cops say the men took the gun from Ohio to Nassau County, where it was illegally sold for $250. 5 people were killed in the May 24th massacre.
And tonight, investigators charged with selling the gun that was used in last month's massacre at a Wendy's restaurant in Queens. Bernard Gardier, seen here, and Jamal Gales allegedly transported the murder weapon from Ohio to Long Island a year before the killings and sold it for $250. Both men were released on $150,000 bond.
He was here with his wife today and his mother. They're all very, very upset by the fact that they were here, that they have anything to do with what happened in the Wendy's restaurant, that horrible incident.
5 people died in the massacre. 2 other victims survived their wounds. 2 suspects, John Taylor and Craig Goodenow, are under arrest for the crime.
Police on Long Island say a cane became a deadly weapon at a senior citizen complex in Nassau County. Fox 5's Christopher Jones is at police headquarters in Mineola with these details on the story. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Mario. This is just a very sad story of a long and very close friendship gone momentarily wrong, and it cost a life. 57-year-old James Bryant has been arrested and charged with manslaughter after an altercation with a friend who was a resident of a municipal senior citizens home. Police say 61-year-old George Chandler, who lived at Magnolia Garden Senior Citizens Homes, was killed when Bryant struck Chandler in the head with his cane while visiting Chandler at the home.
An autopsy was not performed till yesterday, and at that time it was found that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. He had been struck several times with an object that caused a compressed skull fracture.
Friends of Bryant say this does not sound like the man they know.
Was there anything that indicated that he could have done something like this to you?
No, I didn't think that it would have happened with him. He seems to be a pretty nice guy.
Some people at the senior citizens home who could not appear on camera say the 2 men were friends, but that an argument over the affections of a third person may have led to Bryant striking Chandler with his cane. It turns out these guys were longtime drinking buddies, over 30 years. In fact, Bryant would often do errands for Chandler, who couldn't do them for himself. He was a great friend. Something happened. The Nassau Police Department is publicizing this case as though it were a major case. It clearly is not. One has to wonder why. Even the veteran detective who described the case seemed embarrassed to do so. I'm Christopher Jones, Fox 5 News. Back to you, Mario. All right.
Police have charged a man with beating another man to death with a cane at a senior citizen's home. 57-year-old James Bryant is charged with manslaughter in the beating death of 61-year-old George Chandler. Police say Bryant clubbed Chandler twice in the head with his cane on Monday. It happened inside the victim's room at Magnolia Garden in North Hempstead.
On Long Island, a man in Westbury is accused of beating a man to death with a cane. 57-year-old James Bryant is facing manslaughter charges. Police say he was visiting 61-year-old George Chandler at a senior citizens home in North Hempstead. The 2 allegedly got into a fight, and police say Bryant ended up hitting Chandler twice in the head.
No relief for Con Ed.
Arrest charged with killing his longtime friend with a cane. Police say that 57-year-old James Bryant got into a fight with a 61-year-old friend and beat him with a cane, hitting the man in the head twice. It happened at the senior citizens apartment complex in Newcastle. Bryant is charged with manslaughter. There is no word on what caused that argument.
If you have investigators caught a woman on tape working as a mud wrestler. Marlene Harnoff told officials she had back injuries and could not work, but they caught her working in the ring at a Belmore club.
We have a much larger film, an undercover film shot of Marlene at her place of employment, and it looks like the WWF.
14 other people were also caught on tape working when they were supposed to be injured. Authorities say they all face fines and will be forced to repay the state for all funds they claimed illegally.
We have a warning for parents.
Different.
In Suffolk County, 2 people are under arrest on charges of promoting cockfighting. Police found 31 fighting roosters at a house in Bayshore. Cockfighting paraphernalia was found inside. A fighting ring was recovered in a backyard shed. The birds, which you can see are pretty raw there, are in the care of the ASPCA.
All right, Craig Allen is here with a look.
The car's only occupant died in the crash.
The train was approaching the Covert Avenue crossing when a vehicle entered the crossing and subsequently struck by the train.
The train had left Penn Station bound for Huntington. It carried 150 passengers. Many on board said they really didn't notice much when the train first hit the car.
Almost like you think of a crowbar hitting something from underneath. That's what it felt like. That's the only, I never felt an impact or a sudden jolt or a sudden stop.
But as the train pushed the car, a fire broke out and passengers saw smoke.
There was a fire up front, but we were able to get out, and they got everybody out very orderly. It was done very well.
But fortunately, the smoke never made it inside the passenger cars. As the train stopped, the doors opened, and for the first time, those on board realized what happened.
I stuck my head out, and I could see out there that a red car engulfed in flames, and I was amazed. I didn't even realize that we had hit a car. I just thought, you know, it had been debris or something. But it's very, very upsetting.
Now, for a while today, all service on the main line was suspended, but normal service has been resumed tonight, and we're told no delays are expected for the morning rush hour. Coranne, back to you.
Thank you very much, Jim, for that report. And tonight, the U.S. Navy...
And a lot of people are breathing a sigh of relief today, knowing a major utility strike has been averted. Con Edison and 3 smaller companies reached an agreement with the union representing utility workers early today, just a few hours after a strike deadline had passed. Both sides worked hard for the deal, negotiating past the deadline.
Nobody wanted to strike. I thought that everybody was very well in tune to what needed to get accomplished this evening, and I couldn't be happier.
The pact must still be approved by the rank and file. Neither side is releasing the details.
Hospital. Well, it went down to the wire, but Con Edison and its union hammered out a deal to avoid a strike. It was 4 this morning when the 2 sides shook hands and announced their agreement after an all-night bargaining session. They've come up with a tentative contract. No details were released, but both Con Ed and the workers say they were happy with the results.
We're pleased to have a fair agreement for the men and women of Con Ed who provide such important service to our customers. And I want to compliment the union on a job well done. I think this works for both of us and sets the road for us being very competitive in the future.
I think we made a total commitment to everybody, not only to our membership, to the Con Edison family, but to the communities as well, that we were going to stick together, we were going to see this thing through, and nobody wanted to strike.
Before the contract becomes official, it has to go before the union members for a vote.
And your money news now. Well, the summer of pumped-up gasoline prices may be a long one, according to Senator Chuck Schumer. Schumer warns that gas prices in our area could hit $2 a gallon by August unless the U.S. starts releasing oil reserves to the tune of 1 million gallons a day. As a long-term solution, the senator wants sport utility vehicles and vans to meet the same government standards.
SUVs and vans had been treated as automobiles instead of trucks in the original legislation, the price of gasoline at the pump today would be about $1.25.
Schumer says the government fell asleep at the switch by not maintaining its aggressive energy policies of the 1970s and 1980s.
Worth gas prices on the rise. Seemingly every day, drivers are truly going the distance to try and find the cheapest prices at the pumps. It is not an easy accomplishment. It has driven our Tappy Phillips in search of lower prices. She is live in Glendale with more. Tappy.
And Roz, this is where we found some of the cheapest gas in town at this Hess station on Cypress Avenue, where regular is $1.74 a gallon. Sounds high though, doesn't it? And here, like elsewhere, gas prices are rising. In this election year, it has become a campaign issue, but so far, there is no relief in sight. Motorists were complaining about the price of gas at this station today.
It's too expensive. I don't know what's going on, but it's just ridiculous.
The station had some of the highest prices in the 5 boroughs. $1.93 for regular and over $2 for premium. Why'd you come here?
because it's close to my home.
With gas prices on a seemingly ceaseless march upward, some politicians are calling for a suspension of the federal gas tax. But Charles Schumer, recently a gas consumer advocate, says cutting the gas tax won't help motorists' wallets.
So it doesn't make any sense to do it without some kind of commitment, some kind of guarantee that if you remove the tax, it goes to the average driver and not to the oil companies.
Experts expect the prices to continue to rise because they say there is not enough consumer outrage yet to stop them.
It doesn't feel like the public outcry is loud enough for the oil companies to bring the prices down.
There are some money-saving tips. One, avoid buying gas on major highways where prices tend to be higher. If you have 2 cars, drive the more economical one most, and keep the car tuned up and tires properly inflated for best efficiency. And gas is cheaper in New Jersey than it is in the city. Now, while we think we found some of the cheapest and most expensive gas in the 5 boroughs, we would like to hear from you. You can reach us on our website, which is 7online.com. Click on the 7 on your side icon and tell us about the cheapest and most expensive gas stations in your neighborhood, and we'll come check them out. For now, we're live in Glendale, Queens. I'm Tappy Phillips, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, let's pay more for gas. If you believe the gas companies, prices are high because of a busted pipeline in the Midwest or delivery costs. But according to one councilman on Long Island, it's because of a well-kept secret, zone pricing. That has jacked up the price of a gallon of gas higher in Suffolk County than almost anywhere else in the country.
Zone pricing is used, in my opinion, by the wholesalers to maximize the profits.
Zone pricing, from our point of view, permits a franchisee dealer who's across the street from a Costco to compete with that independent competitor.
Some experts say that zone pricing is a secret formula, but oil company officials will tell you the formula is not based on race or economics, but simply supply and demand. Suffolk County Councilman Albin thinks zone pricing is unfair, so he has proposed a law to keep gas prices the same throughout Suffolk County.
My law would outlaw the zone pricing. Everybody in Suffolk County would have to, get the same price. And I think that they would compete by different brand names, but under one brand name, they would have to give everybody the same price.
But a spokesperson for the New York State Petroleum Council says the law would not necessarily keep prices down.
Gas prices would rise. All charge the same price. It's all going to probably go up to the higher price.
Members of a consumer group say gas companies will use any excuse to keep prices soaring.
Just like they were talking about the reformulated gasoline. They're talking about the pipeline that broke out in the Midwest. So anywhere they want to, they're going to figure a way to increase it while they can, especially we're in the heat of the driving season right now.
But there is a bright side to all of this. According to the State Petroleum Council, the price of gas hasn't gone up that much in decades.
Taking into account of inflation, gasoline is what it would cost in the 1950s.
And Senate candidate Rick Lazio blasted President.
Reminder that drinking and driving just don't mix. Last night, an elderly man was struck and killed by a drunk driver on Long Island. John William Sierra allegedly hit 78-year-old Antonio Rivera in Brentwood and then took off. Sierra, who was driving with a suspended license, is charged with driving while intoxicated and leaving the scene. Senior citizens are
arrested in connection with a fatal hit-and-run accident. Police say John Sierra of Miami, Florida, is charged with leaving the scene of an accident and driving while intoxicated. They say Sierra killed Antonio Rivera while Rivera was crossing Suffolk Avenue and Willoughby Street. Police say that Sierra has a suspended New York license. And police are searching for clues in the murder and robbery.
Straddling the Queens-Nassau County border, and to my right, the Long Island Expressway. And as we pan over to take a look at the traffic, we can begin to tell you that if these folks are heading out to the Hamptons, we sure hope they packed a lot of patience. No matter what form of transportation you took to start your holiday weekend, chances were very good that you hit or you are going to hit traffic. On the last day of June, and people left work or home thinking about the 4th of July. For those looking to get a head start on their holiday weekend, the exodus got underway late this afternoon. The problem, though, thousands of other people had the same idea, and that, of course, led to some earlier than normal traffic delays. This was the scene at 3:45 on the LIE in Queens. And if you think people are staying home because of high gas prices, think again.
Despite the high gas prices, we're seeing record numbers of people traveling this year.
about 38 million people nationwide, and about 5.5 million people here in the Northeast. And these are the largest in 14 years.
And we didn't find much relief on the rails. Look at the throngs of holiday travelers, bags in hand, hopping aboard Amtrak trains at Penn Station. With Independence Day falling on Tuesday, many people are off Monday as well, turning their holiday weekend into a 4-day getaway.
People are leaving today for the trips, probably a lot of people taking Monday off and stretching this into a 4- and 5-day weekend. So I think, luckily for us, the traffic will be spread out somewhat. And if you're coming back into the city on Tuesday night, you should get in early.
Over at LaGuardia, the terminals weren't too crowded. That was not the case at the Port Authority, where people...
Arrestó hoy a un hombre de la Florida quien huyó después de arrollar al anciano Antonio Rivera de 78 años en una calle de Brentwood. John William Sierra de Miami huyó después del accidente, pero fue capturado horas más tarde. La policía lo acusó de darse a la fuga y de conducir en estado de ebriedad. Casi una...
...to making it here. But for those who decided to celebrate America's birthday right here at home, what better way than flag making at Central Park's Belvedere Castle?
Dozens have been hurt. We will have the latest on this information.
Plus details of a helicopter crash on Long Island. And as New York gears up for the biggest naval operation ever seen on its waters, we'll take you aboard the first ship to moor in the harbor as sailors' eye view.
I'm not going to go there.
Perfect.
Isn't it great?
Perfect weather.
Yeah, it's therapeutic. Everybody's smiling. Oh, look, Sandra.
Oh, yeah, beach
Did you
weather.
like that? Did you choose that video there? Look at Jones Beach, packed today. Temperatures around 80 at the beaches, water temperatures in 66 range. Everybody's going in and building sandcastles. What a wonderful day. Couldn't ask for a better start to your holiday weekend at 6.
Joanne, thank you. A helicopter crashed into the backyard of a Long Island home today. Suffolk County Police say 2 people aboard the chopper were injured. The injuries are reportedly not life-threatening. No one on the ground was hurt. A witness said the chopper circled the area several times before eventually plunging to the ground. The cause of the crash is now under investigation. Coran?
It is.
Fireworks come the treks to the Jersey Shore. And the picture-perfect day had crowds heading there today, soaking up the sun and taking a dip in the ocean, and overall enjoying the nice breeze. The crowds are only expected to grow as the weekend progresses. What time?
Island. A woman is dead after she was hit by a driver who was leaving the scene of another accident. That happened in Farmingville. Police say the driver crashed into the victim's car, causing it to overturn. The woman was trapped inside and had to be cut out. She was taken to a hospital where she later died. The driver was arrested at the hospital and charged with DWI.
Also on Long Island, a woman and her dog are dead after being struck by a hit-and-run driver. Police say the woman was out walking her dog when they were both hit. Police say the driver drove off after the accident. Police are looking for a white compact car with a loud exhaust and possible windshield and front-end damage.
Well, the last thing...
Coming up next on Eyewitness News, Mayor Giuliani reportedly begins his treatment for prostate cancer, and a chopper makes an emergency landing on Long Island. Some scary moments for those on board a helicopter that crashed in Comac this afternoon. Witnesses say that chopper circled 6 times. Then the engine began to sputter and the chopper went down in the backyard of a house on Norma Lane. Both people on board were treated for minor injuries. Federal officials are investigating. An historic moment down.
Leader, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Tragedy strikes this holiday weekend. An alleged drunk driver kills a young mother while fleeing from a previous accident scene. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandra Bookman. Every year, the 4th of July weekend is the second deadliest when it comes to drunk driving. And now, Goretta Doyle is the latest victim. She and her 8-year-old daughter were hit by a man who police believe was drunk. Stacey Sager has the story. She is live in Comac. Stacey?
Well, Sandra, police say this woman was killed because of a drunk driver who was actually racing away from another accident that had happened only minutes before. This kind of thing is all too common on a holiday weekend, and police have one word of advice: caution. As you sit in traffic on this beautiful holiday weekend, police strongly suggest you use the time wisely and consider safety. Already here in Suffolk County last night, a young mother was killed after a drunk driver struck her car, which then struck another car. 38-year-old Goretta Doyle of Sayville was killed. Police say the driver who hit her car was actually fleeing from a previous accident and speeding after drinking. Peter Jones lost his son because of a drunk driver several years ago. Now he's spreading the word about safety, especially this holiday weekend.
4th of July kicks off the summertime, and everybody goes out partying. 4th of July happens to be a big holiday for partying. And a lot of drinking, a lot of driving. Everybody's going places, parties, pools, beaches, and they forget what they're doing.
Right when the weekend kicked off, police were already out in full force doing sobriety checks. At this one in Setauket, 19 people were arrested in one night and 2 cars were seized.
How many lives did we save just doing it? Unfortunately, we lost somebody on last night. But how many other people would have we lost if we didn't do sobriety checkpoints on the weekend?
It's why most drivers we found welcome the increased police presence.
It's worth it, sure.
How come?
Make the road safer.
I think it's actually better to have more police officers because the visibility makes people less likely to speed and, you know, to break the law.
One's about Mexico.
4th of July is the second most dangerous holiday weekend of the year, second only to Thanksgiving. But there is some encouraging news. Here out in Long Island, the number of fatalities annually from drunk driving is about 50% what it was about 20 years ago. We're live out in Comac. I'm Stacey Sager, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Stacey. Stronger than
Harry Martin. Coming up next on the 10 o'clock news, a great comic actor is mourned. Find out what happened when this chopper makes a crash landing on a Long Island backyard. And the Coast Guard makes a huge Coke bust.
To you, Cynthia. Okay, Patricia, thank you very much. A beautiful day out in Long Island was rudely interrupted when a helicopter made an emergency landing in a quiet neighborhood. It slammed onto this yard in Comac. 2 people inside the chopper were taken to a hospital with minor injuries. No one on the ground was injured. The NTSB is investigating.
The New York City Police Department is it all.
A lot of people were enjoying themselves today. What a great start to the weekend. Beachgoers couldn't have asked for better weather. Jones Beach on Long Island was packed towel to towel. Between sunbathing, sandcastle building, and swimming, it was a complete day of fun in the sun. Fire Island also had a great early start to the 4th of July weekend. Plenty of waves and hardly a cloud in the sky.
So just how long will...
Close call on Long Island. They were taking aerial photographs in Comac about 4 o'clock this afternoon when the engine sputtered and stalled out. The chopper went down on the lawn of a house and flipped over. The 2 men aboard walked out shaken but not hurt. And 9 nearby departments were brought in to battle the blaze in Roslyn. The building is more than a century old. It housed businesses on the ground floor and apartments up above. There were no reports of injuries.
Mayor Rudy Giuliani want to increase output, but oil prices have just kept on rising.
A Long Island woman and her dog were killed early this morning by a hit-and-run driver. Cops say 54-year-old Genevieve Gallo was walking her dog in Selden around 2:30 in the morning when Michael Gibbons allegedly slammed into her. Gibbons took off and later turned himself in to police. And we can't stress enough how important it is not to mix drinking and driving this holiday weekend. Yesterday evening, police say that a drunk driver ran a red light and slammed into 2 other cars. This happened at an intersection in Farmingville, Long Island. The accident left 38-year-old mother dead and sent her 8-year-old daughter to the hospital. Police arrested Martin Altamirano for driving while intoxicated. He was also charged with fleeing the scene of another accident.
The city's emergency 911 system is coming on.
Dead after a hit-and-run driver ran them down early this morning. Police say 54-year-old Genevieve Gallo was walking her dog down Liberty Avenue at 2:30 this morning when they were hit by a car. Gallo was taken to the University Medical Center at Stony Brook, where she was pronounced dead. Police are looking for the driver of the car. They say the car is a small white vehicle with a loud exhaust system, possibly a Nissan. The car may be extensively damaged on the front end or windshield.
Investigators are sorting through the roof.
The teen suspect in a hit-and-run death on Long Island has turned himself into police. 18-year-old Michael Gibbons. Police say he was behind the wheel of a car that struck a woman who was walking her dog in Selden yesterday. 54-year-old Genevieve Gallo and the dog both died. Gibbons is charged with leaving the scene of an accident.
Well, there were hundreds of police at Shea Station. A Long Island man is dead after a 4th of July fireworks tragedy. It happened last night in Bay Shore. More than a dozen people were enjoying a mini fireworks show being put on by 34-year-old Keith Seymour, but something went wrong when Seymour prepared for the finale with a 5-inch mortar.
At around 9:30, he went across the street from the party, and they had put actually sunk a pipe into the ground. And at this point, he lit the mortar, which either went off prematurely or it's possible he actually went to look to check down the pipe, and the explosion then subsequently basically took the top of his head off, and he was pronounced dead at the scene.
Police are investigating, but say mortars are commercial explosives, and you need a permit to possess them.
Well, it was a 20-year-old Uniondale man after the Puerto Rican Day Parade. The four men face charges of second-degree murder and first-degree gang assault in the death last month of Eric Rivera. Rivera had just returned from the Puerto Rican Day Parade on June 11th when he was assaulted by 2 carloads of young men. Rivera died the next day. In the Bronx today, an investigation now underway to determine the cause. And a small emergency with 911 service in Suffolk County is over this afternoon. Earlier today, when callers phoned 911, their names and numbers would not automatically appear on the operator's screens. That information had to be taken verbally, and that caused delays and even some busy signals to 911. Police say a crew from Verizon Communications traced to a glitch in their software.
Bill, this afternoon, a hometown
have now been arrested in the murder of a Long Island man. Police say 20-year-old Eric Rivera was attacked because he was Puerto Rican. The men arrested live in Hempstead and Hicksville and are Salvadorian. Nassau County Police say the 4 attacked Rivera in Uniondale as he was on his way home from last month's Puerto Rican Day Parade in Manhattan. John?
Well, Cynthia, there is news. It's a lot more dangerous in real life than it is in the movies.
Also ahead, why so many people got busy signals when they called 911. It was pretty scary. Fire investigators are still looking into what caused it. If you tried calling 911 in Suffolk County this morning, you may have gotten a busy signal. It was all because of a computer glitch. It started in Brentwood around 8 o'clock. A computer software problem prevented 911 dispatchers from automatically seeing the addresses and phone numbers of callers. The operators had to take the information verbally. The problem was fixed 3.5 hours later. Suffolk police say they had no problems responding to emergencies. John?
Well, Cynthia, a couple of spots in Central Park.
All right, Walter. And speaking of fireworks, there was tragedy on the 4th of July. On Long Island, a man was decapitated after fireworks exploded in his face. This happened in Bayshore. Police say 34-year-old Keith Seymour was bending over some lit fireworks to check on them because they wouldn't go off. Apparently, he was looking inside them when they exploded.
Op sale 2000.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Thank you, David. A 5th person has been arrested for taking part in the beating death of a young Long Island man last month. 4 men were arrested last week. The 5th suspect, 18-year-old Jose Peñusa Ramos, was picked up last night. Police say they are part of a gang of 10 to 15 men who attacked 20-year-old Eric Rivera as he walked home from the Hempstead train station.
There's a new book out.
We are still on the scene of a fire at an abandoned building there. Fire broke out at the Long Island Developmental Center in Melville at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. No injuries are reported, but what to do with the building and its 400 acres of prime real estate was the subject just last night of a meeting. Police say in any event it's too early to tell how that fire began. When we come back...
This coming Monday will mark the 4th anniversary of the explosion and crash of TWA Flight 800, which killed 230 people off the coast of Long Island. And the victims are not being forgotten. A father of 4 from Seaford, Long Island, completed a 6-day swim this morning, 50 miles, which ended at Smith Point Park, the site of a planned memorial. Tom Gallagher is trying to raise $1 million for the granite monument, which will consist of 8 slabs engraved with the names of the victims. Gallagher began his swim in Rockaway this past Monday, and Senator Chuck Schumer was among the well-wishers who met him at Smith Point.
I breathe every 3rd stroke, and I would count 230 breaths and come up for a break. It was about 15 minutes. It was 1 breath for each victim, and I just followed that formula the whole way.
The exact cause of the crash of TWA Flight 800 was never determined, but investigators suspect the explosion was caused by a problem with the jet's center fuel tank.
Well, Lloyd, police work along with the prosecution of drug gangs and young criminals.
A Long Island man is charged with the attempted murder of a child. The shooting happened yesterday in Huntington Station. 20-year-old Nestor Guerrero appeared in court in Central Islip this morning. He faces 5 counts of attempted murder. Police say Guerrero fired a shotgun at a group of teens who didn't give the so-called proper respect to his friends. A stray bullet also hit 12-year-old who lived down the block.
It was a somber anniversary on Long Island 4 years ago. TWA Flight 800 crashed off the coast. Family members of the victims gathered today to honor their loved ones. Patricia Wu was with them.
It's a place that draws them back year after year. It is the closest spot to the crash site of TWA Flight 800. They are the ones who lost their loved ones. These gray, choppy waters usually mirror their grief and turmoil, but today they also spotted a sign of hope. Tom Gallagher, who finished his swim tracing the path of the doomed flight. Gallagher knew no one on board, but he wanted to help the families raise money for a memorial.
I really didn't know if I could swim 50 miles. It's very long, but the formula I used was I would count breaths. I would count 230 breaths and then take a break. And there were 230 victims, and I would just devote one breath to each victim.
The memorial will be in Smith Point Park, overlooking the waters near the crash site. The groundbreaking ceremony for the Memorial Garden will take place tomorrow. So far, families have raised about $500,000, but they need about $1 million more, and they hope the airline will help them out.
You would think that the airline that had 230 people killed on it, that they would step forward and do something, make some gesture to help us.
John Seaman lost his niece in the crash. He says the families of the victims need a place to come to.
It's a way for the families to try to remember those that were lost. It's a way to hold on to something that's impossible to hold on to.
The memorial is also a thank you to the countless people who have helped the families. It should be finished by next summer, the 5th anniversary of the crash. Patricia Wu, Fox 5 News.
All in order. On Long Island, 20-year-old Nestor Guerrero was arraigned today on attempted murder. Authorities say Guerrero shot at 4 teenagers yesterday after an argument in Huntington Station. A stray bullet hit a 5th person, 12-year-old Jason Soto. All 5 people are in the hospital. 4 of them are listed in stable condition, while 1 teen is in critical condition. A dispute. Flowers were placed on an East Moriches beach to honor the victims of TWA Flight 800 today. Family members gathered to mark the 4th anniversary of the fatal crash that killed all 230 people on board. One relative, Tom Gallagher, swam the actual route the doomed airliner took from Kennedy Airport. He is trying to raise money for a permanent memorial. A special service will be held at that site, at the site of the crash, on Monday.
All right, thank you, Darlene. A 20-year-old Suffolk County man is charged with shooting 5 people in Huntington Station. Nestor Guerrero is accused of attempted murder. He allegedly opened fire with a shotgun, wounding 4 teenagers and a 12-year-old bystander who was hit with a stray pellet. Tonight, all the victims are in stable condition. Police say the trouble began yesterday when a group of people in a car got into an argument with another group on a street corner. The men in the car drove away, then returned on foot with a shotgun. Police are looking for several more suspects.
Football season is here now today. And for the New York Jets, all 79 strong, the optimum word is change. The Jets begin the new millennium with a new owner, Woody Johnson, and a new coach, Al Groh, who has been a Parcells understudy for 13 years. So far, the transition has been a smooth one.
This is Al's team, and he's going to run it the way he wants to, the way he sees fit, and I think the guys are receptive to that.
Another big change, the void created by the trade of Pro Bowler Keyshawn Johnson.
I think everybody knew, for a couple months now, what we're going into the season with, just from the mini camp, and I think we accepted that, and we're just going to go forward with what we have.
Meanwhile, Gangrene starting quarterback Vinny Testaverde is all the way back from a torn Achilles tendon.
Feel great, no complaints, no worries, just going out and having a good time, trying to get my job done and help this team win ball games this year.
In the WNBA, the Liberty beat the Miracle.
Well, Mary, another tragic plane crash was also remembered today. Tomorrow marks exactly 4 years since TWA Flight 800 crashed into the Atlantic. Relatives and friends of those victims gathered in East Moriches today, just off the waters where the plane went down, to break ground for a permanent memorial. 8 black granite slabs will stand engraved with the names of those killed. Mayor Giuliani and Governor Pataki attended, both expressing hope a permanent memorial could provide some comfort to the survivors of the 230 victims.
It can never replace the memorial in your hearts. But I hope that you will return here for special occasions or just on quiet days to reflect on some of the old joys, the way they joked, the way they laughed and loved.
Now, the monument will also include the names of thousands of people who helped in the recovery effort. Organizers hope it's ready by next year, but they're still almost $750,000 short of the money needed.
It's the eve of the 4th anniversary of the crash of TWA Flight 800. The families of the lost ones, the loved lost ones on that plane, took part in a special ceremony on Long Island. They were breaking ground for a memorial that's being built in honor of the victims. The monument will list the names of the 230 people who died, as well as the names of the rescue workers. Harry?
It's summertime.
Of the crash of TWA Flight 800 off Long Island, today families of the victims broke ground for a permanent memorial. The memorial will be in Smith Point Park in Shirley near the crash site. It will feature the engraved names of the 230 victims on 8 black granite slabs. Mayor Giuliani offered comfort to the families.
I share with you the loss of friends on Flight 800. People that I work with, people that I knew, people whose lives were cut off prematurely and not given a chance to complete the things they could have accomplished.
The relatives will hold a memorial service tomorrow. Organizers hope the monument will be finished by the 5th anniversary next year.
Thank you very much. Police on Long Island have teamed up with Scotland Yard to break up a credit card fraud operation. Nassau County Police have charged 19-year-old Nigerian student Anthony Ogwu with using forged credit cards to buy $178,000 worth of computer chips and equipment from a company in Rhode Island. They say he then shipped the goods to an accomplice in England. Scotland Yard is still looking for that accomplice.
Baseball's a private ceremony this afternoon to remember the 230 people who died 4 years ago today aboard TW Flight 800. There was a far more public gathering yesterday to break ground for the granite memorial, which families hope to build on the south shore of Long Island. It will contain the names of the victims and the 3,000 people who took part in the recovery operation.
I do hope that this memorial will always remind you that the people of our nation, indeed the people of the world, continue to mourn the loss of 230 very special people.
Organizers need another $800,000 to finish the monument by next summer. The National Transportation Safety Board plans to meet new evidence from the crash and determine a final cause of the disaster.
Still no word on how on the Long Island seashore today, friends and family of the 230 people killed in the crash of TWA Flight 800 gathered to remember them, I should say, on this, the 4th anniversary of the crash. The plane plummeted into the ocean after an explosion shortly after it left JFK for Paris. Next month, federal officials will meet to review evidence and determine a final cause of that crash.
Schools Chancellor Harold Levy has been told
Nassau County taxpayers have been hit with another judgment in a lawsuit over the way the county jail is being run. This time, a federal jury awarded $1.5 million to a former corrections officer, James Manning. He says other guards made his life miserable when they found out he's a homosexual. They put up all kinds of pictures and posters, and one guard even assaulted him.
I was just always worried that people were going to find out, and they were just going all over the place with it, and I was trying to, tell them, stop it, knock it off, it's not safe for me, you can't discuss stuff like that. I told my bosses about it. They all thought it was a big joke. They didn't care.
Mr. Manning says he's still afraid and won't give out his hometown address. Nassau County says it will appeal. It also faces paying court awards in a series of inmate deaths and beatings.
And a decorated lawman.
A man from Long Island is in trouble after police say he sold raffle tickets to a fake contest. Richard Moreno. He's a contractor from Babylon. Now he's been arraigned on several charges, including gambling. He advertised in newspapers on Long Island telling people that if they bought a $200 ticket, they had a chance to win a new sports car or a boat or even $25,000 in cash. Nobody won anything. Mr. Moreno is accused of launching this lottery to get money so he could build a retaining wall at a local wetland site.
Well, thank you, Art. Suffolk County Police have arrested a man for trying to rip people off through a lottery scheme. Richard Moreno is charged with fraud for orchestrating the scam. Police say the Babylon man advertised lottery tickets in local newspapers. The ad promised that if residents bought a ticket for $200, they had a 1 in 1,000 chance of winning $25,000, a sports car, or a motorboat. No one who played that lottery game ever received a prize.
New Jersey's junior is under arrest tonight, accused of fatally stabbing his former boss in North Bayshore. Police say 19-year-old Devon Rodriguez has confessed to the killing. 30-year-old Michael Hunt was found dead in his home this morning. Rodriguez was arrested by New York City police after taking his boss's car and crashing it in Queens. Philadelphia police tonight say the carjacking.
See you later. This crash has brought back a painful time for people who lost family and friends on TWA Flight 800. That plane was headed to France from JFK and exploded shortly after takeoff over the waters off Long Island. All 230 people on board died. Last week, the victims' families just marked the 4th anniversary of that crash. Dick Hammer, who's from Long Island, lost his wife and daughter on Flight 800.
It certainly reopens those wounds that were so deep.
And again, it's especially poignant because all of us that were involved with TWA 800 just had our moments of reflection on that a few days ago.
Mr. Hammer says he thinks planes today are dangerously old and something should be done to replace them or maintain them better. We'll have any late-breaking developments on
A rumor about one of the student's cousins. And a Long Island judge accused of stabbing his wife is back home with her tonight. Nassau County Court Judge Paul Kautner got permission to reunite with his family yesterday. He was banned from the house since the attack on his wife back in May. Since his arrest, he has been getting psychiatric treatment. Kautner still faces assault charges, and he must continue treatment.
A man on Long Island was arrested for some illegal gardening. Police say Derek Blakeney had about 300 marijuana plants at his home in Roosevelt. The plants were about 5 feet tall. Police also found 200 seedlings, a couple of guns, gun-making equipment, and hypodermic needles. He faces charges of criminal possession of marijuana and 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon.
City Hall and the PBA are in a battle over police pay. The cops' contract with the city expires on Monday, and City Hall wants the new contract to include a 2-week.
Appearing on a WCBS radio talk show this morning, Mrs. Clinton said,
It's clear that Prime Minister Barack came committed to reaching a deal that would guarantee peace and security for Israel and the entire region, and I'm sorry that Chairman Arafat didn't show the same commitment.
Clinton and her U.S. Senate opponent rarely agree on most issues. That's not the case here. Republican candidate Rick Lazio spent much of the day in the Hamptons looking to shore up support from Jewish voters. Lazio visited the same synagogue Mrs. Clinton appeared in last weekend.
I think that Yasser Arafat missed a very important opportunity for peace for his people, the Palestinians, as well as Israelis, and it's a setback for the peace process.
Mrs. Clinton's Senate campaign, however, has suffered some embarrassing moments in the quest to secure Jewish support. Her much publicized Arafat's wife in June angered many Jews. A new book accused her of using an anti-Semitic slur years ago. NYU professor Mitchell Moss says the First Lady's comments today
It was not your normal summer vegetable garden that landed a Nassau County man behind bars. Police say Derek Blakeney had 300 full-grown marijuana plants in his Roosevelt, Long Island home. Cops also found another 200 seedling plants, 2 guns, boxes of ammunition, hypodermic needles, and jars of marijuana seeds. Blakeney is facing both drug and weapons charges. Several charges against
her of flip-flopping on the issue. Clinton suggests that Arafat did not show the commitment needed to reach a deal. As Lazio courted the Jewish vote in the Hamptons, he accused Mrs. Clinton of changing opinions on where the U.S. embassy should be. Mrs. Clinton now says that she would support moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Earlier this year, she told an Orthodox Jewish group she could not support a relocation of that facility.
Violence surrounds the swearing-in.
Bumper crop of marijuana.
Agents arrested one man who they say was in possession of 500 marijuana plants. Derek Blakeney faces charges of drug and weapons possession. Police say they found 300 marijuana plants, 200 seedling plants, guns and ammunition in his Roosevelt home. Blakeney was arraigned today.
Spraying against the West Nile Jewish Center of the Hamptons.
No doubt. She has taken a former position that we should not immediately move the embassy to Jerusalem. The administration has had legislation that I have supported and I have voted for, which would call for the immediate relocation to the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, which it has ignored. I don't know why she hasn't spoken up about it all this time in the middle of a Senate race. All of a sudden, she has changed her position.
Tonight, Lazio will help kick off the New York Philharmonic.
Mrs. Clinton also told reporters that she was now in favor of having the U.S. Embassy in Israel moved to Jerusalem, something that she was not able to say a few months ago. Opponent Rick Lazio says the First Lady is now flip-flopping on the issue.
An issue as important as this, and credibility becomes an important issue, and those principles transcend even an issue as important as the issue of Jerusalem.
Political analyst Mickey Carroll says it's always good politics.
Virus on Staten Island, that borough needs another spraying, and they'll get it Wednesday night.
But on Long Island, where there's extensive spraying, cancer experts are now worried about the effect of all the spraying.
Patricia Wu is in Nassau County right now. Patricia?
Well, John, a new study suggests that the pesticides being used may disrupt normal hormone function in the body, and that could lead to increased risks of hormone-based cancers, such as prostate, testicular, ovarian, and breast cancer. Now, Long Island already has one of the highest rates of breast cancer in the country, so this new study has some women here very worried. Laura Kay is all too familiar with breast cancer.
My mother passed away. She died from it. My grandmother died from it. My great-aunt died from it.
Laura, a mother of a 4-year-old son, does everything she can to lower her own risk of breast cancer. But the use of pesticides to combat mosquitoes worries her.
The fact that they are spraying aerially, and this is in the very air that I breathe, and I can't get away from it, just fills me with terror.
A coalition of breast cancer groups from the tri-state area says there's reason to be concerned based on information from a study released by the Mount Sinai School of Medicine.
What we're trying to do is to avoid exposure, especially for those women who have estrogen-dependent breast cancers, because even a small amount of this pesticide may act as a tumor promoter in these women.
But health officials say the pesticides being used are approved by the EPA and the New York State Department of Health. They add the Mount Sinai study is only preliminary.
The tests were done in vitro. In other words, they were done in a test tube. You cannot generalize from that research to a human being at this point in time. There needs to be many more other studies done.
We feel that we're guinea pigs, that there's an uncontrolled human experiment going on.
In the meantime, new pools of mosquitoes were found in Suffolk County, and aerial spraying will take place as soon as the skies clear up.
Until we know that this is an actual risk, I think it would be unwise to prevent the government from spraying for a deadly disease that we know is a risk.
Now, other experts argue that spraying may not even be that effective. They say that actually only about 25% of the pesticide actually reaches the target, and in congested areas like New York, it could be less than 1%. Reporting live from Long Island, Patricia Wu, Fox 5.
Patricia. It seems Mother Nature had some tricks up her sleeve today. Flash floods that left dozens of people stranded in their cars on Long Island. But in some other places, there wasn't even a drop of rain. Levittown, Long Island was one of the places hardest hit. Andrea Day's got that story.
If you walked out to the street, you were to here, to chest deep in water.
It came down, and in just minutes, Michael Kirkland's brand new car was covered in water.
You can see the water line. This is the right side of the car. The water line was here. Then the water was inside the car. Cellular phone's destroyed.
And it wasn't any better for people at the Nassau Mall on Hempstead Turnpike. Cars there were lined up waiting for tow trucks to pull them out after they were hit with a flash flood.
You can see that my pants were rolled up and they were wet up to, well, you can see they're wet up to about here.
All over Levittown, the rain left streets totally underwater. Sidewalks turned into rivers, and these homes turned into waterfront property.
It's like a swimming pool.
Lynn Morrissey says the water on her street was waist high before it finally drained.
The foundation is very, very wet. It was almost in. I had to drive over my lawn while I still could.
But it was a close call for her cat Clancy.
When somebody came through with a truck, it had a tidal wave about 4 feet high coming, and my cat just outran it. And it slammed up, right up against the house.
Andrea Day, Fox 5 News.
Appears that virus transmission to people stopped, while in areas that were not treated, virus transmission continued.
But breast cancer activists believe the remedy poses a much greater health risk than the virus itself. Today, leaders of several coalitions throughout the tri-state area gathered in Manhasset. Their goal to bring to light a recent study from Mount Sinai Hospital. The report shows exposure to pesticides like Anvil increases the growth of cancer cells.
This particular class of pesticides can actually promote tumor growth in women who already have estrogen-dependent cancer, breast cancer.
And again tonight, aerial spraying near and around Belmont Lake State Park has been postponed, but ground spraying is going on as planned in Western Oakdale, Eastern Oakdale, West Oak Recreation Club, Sayville, Bellport Village, and the village of Quogue. Bellport Beach and Water Island on Fire Island will also be sprayed tonight. And again,
cuando están acompañados de sus padres. Un supermercado fue el escenario escogido por un maniático sexual para aprovecharse de la inocencia de 5 niñas. Nuestro colega Rolman Vergara amplía desde nuestro centro de información. Rolman, adelante.
Denise, lo sucedido debe de alertar a todos los padres. Se trata de un individuo que se acercaba disimuladamente a las niñas y les tocaba sus partes íntimas, y todo esto en pleno día en el interior del supermercado. Se lanzó a una aventura atrevida y cayó en manos de la policía. Se trata de Greg Whelan, de 49 años, a quien se acusa de molestar sexualmente a 4 niñas de entre 5 y 11 años y a una de 12 adentro del supermercado King Cullen de Huntington, Long Island. Aprovechaba que los padres estaban haciendo la compra para acariciarle a sus hijas.
He abused them by sexually touching them on the buttocks and on the vagina.
Dice el teniente, abusó de ellas tocándoles los glúteos y los genitales. Una de las niñas, esta de 12 años, lo increpó gritándole, ¿por qué me tocas? Enseguida la menor llamó a su madre y cuando ésta vino, se encontró con el individuo, el cual le dijo, perdone señora, que fue un error. 45 minutos le tomó al individuo para abusar sexualmente de las 4 niñas. Tan pronto los padres se dieron cuenta, comenzaron a correrlo por dentro del supermercado y también por todo este estacionamiento. Llamaron a la policía. Uno de los empleados, cuando se quiso dar a la fuga, le atravesó el carrito de hacer las compras detrás de su automóvil y aquí le dieron captura.
Siempre tiene que andar sus papás con los niños de la mano porque no hay que dejarlos así solitos.
Irónicamente, Whelan, que se aprecia con pullover azul con rayas amarillas, traía puesta esta gorra que literalmente llevaba un mensaje en pro de los niños.
Sí, más precaución hay que tener porque mucho problema, muchos individuos andan en las calles. Gracias.
¿Le parece extraño, señora, que dentro de un supermercado como este pase algo así?
Oh, sí, parece extraño. No está supuesto, tienen que poner más vigilantes para que no ocurra eso.
Esta tarde el sospechoso fue instruido de cargos de abuso sexual y le impusieron una fianza de $25,000. Volverá a enfrentarse a un juez el 4 de agosto. La administración del
At a supermarket, a man is accused of fondling children while their parents were at the store. Plus, homeowners could be in for a price shock come sexually assaulting 5 young girls in a supermarket. Police say Greg Whelan assaulted the girls, ranging in age from 4 to 12, at a King Cullen store in South Huntington. Whelan was caught when a 12-year-old girl screamed, catching the attention of parents and store workers, and police credit the store's assistant manager with helping capture Whelan.
If he hadn't acted that way, there's chances are we wouldn't have caught the man.
You have to watch your children no matter where you are. Even in a food store, you can't let them out of your sight.
Whelan faces at least 4 counts of sexual assault, and police say other charges may yet.
He was nabbed when one of the girls screamed. Police say a quick-thinking manager stopped Whelan's escape by shoving a shopping cart behind Whelan's car. A pharmaceutical company in Ronkonkoma is shut down, accused of being part of a nationwide methamphetamine ring. Federal agents released undercover video of the drug ring. Since last December, 140 people have been arrested in connection with Operation Mountain Express. In addition to the pharmacy on Long Island, arrests were also made in New York City and Newark.
And tonight, the New York City Board of Education.
Sexual abuse of several young girls in a Huntington supermarket. Police were able to nab the suspect after alert shoppers chased him on foot, then trapped the man in his own car. Judia Chavez reports.
Greg Whelan tried to shield himself from cameras as police escorted him into the van. Suffolk County police say the 49-year-old sexually abused several young girls inside the King Cullen supermarket off of Route 25 in Huntington Station.
He did that by touching them on the buttocks and the vagina with his hands. He had brief conversations with them and he moved on.
Police say Whelan was wandering up and down the aisles of the grocery store Monday afternoon and managed to fondle 4 little girls as they shopped with their parents. Their ages range from 4.5 to 11 years old. Investigators say Whelan was wearing this baseball cap, which ironically says "for the children." They believe his victims were unaware of his subtle actions until his 5th victim, a 12-year-old, cried out.
Touched her and she screamed. Her mother came running over, confronted the man, and he, of course, said, "Excuse me," and left.
Police say just after Whelan walked out of the store, parents alerted store officials of the alleged abuse. That's when employees chased Whelan down outside and lodged a shopping cart into his car to keep him from leaving. The supermarket's assistant manager held Whelan until police arrived to arrest him. Parents shopping today at King Cullen were outraged.
I have 2 children of my own, and it's extremely scary that something like this could happen in our neighborhood.
I need some help. I hope he gets it. It's terrible. It's a shocking, terrible thing, and I'm very surprised to hear that happened there.
The alleged crime took place about 1.5 miles from where Whelan lives alone. Cops say he has no criminal record and is currently unemployed. King Cullen officials say they turned over surveillance video to help investigators with their case. Whelan is charged with 4 counts of sexual abuse. In Huntington, Long Island, Judia Chavez, UPN 9 News.
Parents taking their little girls shopping figured they'd be safe at the supermarket, but police on Long Island say that wasn't the case. Now, one man's accused of sexually attacking 5 girls before he was finally stopped by outraged parents. Cynthia Santana standing by in Huntington Station, Long Island. Cynthia.
Well, Rosanna, it is pretty scary if you think about it, in a supermarket of all places. I spoke with one officer who said what took him back is the number of girls this man is accused of molesting in one place in such a short period of time.
Did you know that 4 girls were molesting me?
News of a man molesting children in the King Cullen store in Huntington Station came as a surprise even to workers.
Very safe here. I was shocked. I really was shocked.
Police say 49-year-old Greg Whelan from Huntington used the supermarket Monday around 2 in the afternoon to target young girls. He wandered up and down the aisles and managed to sexually abuse 5 girls, ages 4.5 to 12, within a half an hour.
He abused them by sexually touching them on the buttocks and on the vagina. I touched them with his hands.
It's just very crowded in there. I can't imagine how nobody could see anything. They see you when you're stealing something in here. How could they not notice a strange man following girls around?
Hard to imagine, but cops say the acts were subtle. Whelan would brush up against the girls when their parents weren't looking.
There was no initial outcry from the first 4 girls. The last girl, who was a 12-year-old, was touched on the buttocks, and she turned around. She asked him, "Why are you touching me?" She screamed to her mother.
When the mother confronted Whelan, he apologized and ran for the door. And that's when the assistant manager and a parent chased him into the parking lot and used a shopping cart to stop him from driving away. Can you tell us what the store is doing as far as security?
I can give you his phone number, no ma'am.
We tried to talk to the night manager about security, but we're told to leave. Employees tell us there is a security guard, but we never saw him either inside or outside the store.
Something to think about. It's really something to think about. It's ridiculous. It's scary.
I don't know. It's just, what do you do? What do you do?
We were given a number to call to get an official comment from the store. We did call that number. Our calls were never returned. As for Whelan, he's charged with sexual abuse, and he's being held on $25,000 bail. But if he wants to get out, he has to pay for that in cash. His next court date is August 4th. Reporting from Huntington Station, Long Island, Cynthia Santana, Fox 5.
Rick Lazio is running one of the highest Republican profile races in the country thanks to his opponent, Mrs. Clinton, but he has chosen to be very low-key at the convention. He's appeared only at fundraisers with his wife and fellow New York Republicans. He criticized Mrs. Clinton for not knowing our state and reminded everyone that she recently booked herself on a talk show that was in Erie, Pennsylvania. She thought she was in Erie County, New York. And Mrs. Clinton was on Congressman Lazio's home turf, Long Island and Great Neck. Got a warm welcome, but her daughter Chelsea got an even bigger reception. It's Chelsea's first appearance with her mom since she announced that she'd take a semester off to help in the campaign. They'll be making appearances tomorrow and Thursday on Long Island.
New Jersey
was out early this morning greeting commuters at the Hicksville station of the Long Island Railroad. Mrs. Clinton was accompanied by her daughter Chelsea. It is the second day of a 3-day campaign swing around the island. Her opponent, Rick Lazio, will receive the endorsement of the New York City Correction Officers Union this afternoon.
Well, you know, New York is home to some of the world's...
When it comes to paying our utility bills, you might call this the summer of our discontent. The price of power has gone up faster than the temperature has, and a lot of people are asking why. Michelle Charlesworth is live in East Harlem with the story. Michelle?
Well, Bill, the word said over and over again today was outrageous, as it is the summer of our discontent. And state assembly members held a hearing today to get answers, and the owner of this business behind me showed up. Now, his is the tale of 2 stores and 2 power companies. His power bill at this supermarket in East Harlem was doubled this summer to $12,000 per month. His same store, identical store out in Long Island, has stayed half that. It's the same square footage, the same business, same owner, just one difference, different power companies.
It's identical. It's 10,000 square foot over there, and it's 10,000 square foot here. Where did somebody go wrong? I really don't understand.
So he brought the bills and his frustration to this hearing today. Alfredo Rodriguez owns 2 supermarkets, one in Harlem, the other on Long Island. His power bill from LIPA on the island barely went up, but look at his bill in Harlem. It literally doubled this summer from $6,000 to $12,000. That bill is from Con Ed. What was your reaction when you opened your bill?
I thought it was a mistake, there was something wrong. For the previous bill that I got was for $8,600, which was the biggest bill I ever gotten in Con Edison. I thought that would be the highest bill that I would ever get.
This is the Con Edison CEO, Eugene McGrath, the supermarket owner came to see today. McGrath testified that deregulation has made his company dependent on the market to buy electricity.
It's not a matter of passing on anything. We don't have any profit from that part of the operation. Our rates, as I said, are going down.
No profit. Listen to the assembly members who took Con Edison to task. You've seen Con Edison's books, right? How well are they doing?
Record margin profits, and at the same time of deregulation, they're proposing to merge with Northeast Utilities of Connecticut.
We showed you the difference in bills for these supermarkets, but what about the cost for regular people? Well, this is how that boils down. First, we want to show you the unit price in kilowatt hours. Now, that's what the companies say is the fairest comparison. That cost ranges from 24 cents with Con Ed to a low 9 cents with Northeast Utilities in Connecticut. Now, what does that mean in dollars and cents? This is what it looks like on a bill. The same electricity a small family pays Con Edison in Westchester $192 for only costs about $112 on Long Island with LIPA, or $88 in New Jersey with GPU and PSE&G, or the lowest, $72 in Connecticut. Connecticut looks good to move. The only solution is to move or change power companies. There are 22 other power suppliers that Con Ed customers could actually change to, but so far, only 3% of all Con Ed customers have elected to make the change. We're live in East Harlem. Michelle Charlesworth, ABC 7.
50 years, parishioners worshipped at a Long Island church.
But tonight, the structure is destroyed after a fire ripped through the house of worship. Stephanie Shelton is here with details for us. Stephanie?
Brenda, fire officials say an electrical malfunction caused the fire at St. Edward the Confessor, but that's of little comfort to the 3,000 devoted parishioners in Syosset who have lost their spiritual home.
To lose the church, unbelievable. I've been coming here for so many years.
Just like seeing this is so horrible.
The news spread quickly about the fire, almost as quickly as the flames engulfed the heart of St. Edward the Confessor Catholic Church. Church workers and neighbors noticed smoke about 11 a.m. Louis Cavello was in the church office making a delivery.
And then I saw the flames just like that and eat the whole church.
Some of the volunteer firemen were parishioners themselves, but they could not save their church. All day and into the evening, little knots of grieving people stood about in disbelief.
I came by this morning and I saw the flames shooting out of it, and I just could not believe that this was happening to our church, our parish.
My family and I have been parishioners for over 35 years. We've had our first son at 11 was buried from this church. Our daughter was married here. My grandchildren were baptized here. So it's our spiritual home.
St. Edward the Confessor's Church has been here for almost 50 years along with its parishioners. And one of the greatest losses are the stained glass windows that depicted the entire life of St. Edward the Confessor. The windows probably can't be restored, nor can the interior of the church, the altar, the pews, some of the relics. But priests and church workers were able to carry out some of the most sacred objects.
If we have to build a new church, we'd still be able to use those sacred vessels and vestments.
Well, the church isn't the brick and the mortar that you see destroyed. It's really, it's all the people that are part of the church, the people that built the church initially, and the people that are going to have to rebuild it.
Offers of space have poured in from other area churches and synagogues. Sunday services will be in a nearby Catholic high school. The church was getting ready for its 50th anniversary in 2002, and as one trustee told...
Long Island man is jailed tonight. He is charged with sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl. Police say 30-year-old James Lugoski approached that girl as she was walking with a friend on Woodbury Road in Hicksville. They say he fondled and groped her, then tried to remove her clothes. The girl managed to break free and waved down a police officer who arrested Lugoski at his home.
But bad on Long Island. Huge crowds packed the sand for a day of fun in the sun at Jones Beach. The cool ocean water serving as the perfect refresher on one of the nicest Saturdays of the summer. But back in Mamaroneck, Nicola Arpaia could only dream of...
Two teenage girls inside his restaurant. Suffolk police say 36-year-old Frank Canestro of Canestro's Pizza in Wisconsin will be arraigned Monday on sexual abuse and lewdness charges. Police say he abused two girls in separate attacks in June June and July. Later, he exposed himself to a third girl. Canestro faces more charges for carrying a stun gun and some marijuana. Daryl Strawberry is heading back to New Abdomen.
Parishioners of a Syosset church that was destroyed by fire have a new place to worship for now. St. Edward's Roman Catholic Church was gutted by flames on Thursday, causing more than $1 million of damage. Well, today, worshipers attended services at Our Lady of Mercy Academy. Former Bishop John McGann gave the sermon and reassured parishioners of the diocese's support. The church will be rebuilt in the same location.
Last week, in public lewdness, cops say 36-year-old Frank Canestro sexually abused 2 teenage girls over a 2-week period in late June and early July at his restaurant on Smithtown Boulevard. They say he also exposed himself to another teenage girl. Police say when they arrested Canestro, he was carrying a stun gun and some marijuana. He'll be arraigned tomorrow in Central Islip.
The death penalty. Tonight, a Long Island man is charged with sexually abusing 2 teenage girls and exposing himself to another girl in his restaurant. Frank Canestro is the owner of Canestro's Pizza and Pasta restaurant in Nesconset. Police say he was carrying a stun gun and some marijuana when he was arrested. He'll make his first court appearance tomorrow. Tonight, police
is accused of sexually abusing 2 teenage girls. Police say 36-year-old Frank Canestro, owner of Canestro's Pizzeria in Nesconset, fondled a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old at his place of business. He also is accused of exposing himself to another 16-year-old girl. Canestro is charged with sex abuse as well as weapons and drug possession. Police say he had marijuana and a stun gun with him when he was arrested.
Well, it's called.
And without technicians to fix it all, managers sweated it out on the streets, stuck with about 24 cables to piece back together.
They cut it to where you can't get enough wire, so you have to do the whole portion.
Kind of a pain for you.
Yes, very much.
And more wires were cut at a strip mall in Garden City Park, Long Island, leaving store owners there scrambling.
Can't ring up credit cards, can't do activations, can't call other stores for customers. The whole service is down, everything.
No one's pointing a finger yet, but the union swears
major phone outages, but it is keeping union workers off the job indefinitely.
Keep the work here! Keep the work here!
They chanted and carried signs. Union workers wanted their voices heard.
We're going to be out here for a week, a month, or the rest of the year. It makes no difference until we get a fair and equitable contract.
I'm with my brothers and sisters all the way. And we'll fight for whatever it takes to get what we want.
Strikers booed non-union Verizon communication workers as they entered the building. Things nearly turned violent when this caterer tried to deliver food to staff inside. Police reported at least 5 incidents of vandalism against Verizon Communications. In Long Island, phone lines were cut at this shopping center. Some 85,000 Verizon telephone workers from Virginia to Maine.
Back to you in the studio, Mario.
Thank you, Mike. For those people, I'm sure it can't happen soon enough. All right, thank you. Police are investigating a couple of incidents of vandalism on Long Island, both involving phone lines. In East Meadow, hundreds of telephone lines were ripped out of a phone box, causing more than 80 people to lose service. More than 200 lines were cut in Wantagh as well. No word on whether it is connected to the Verizon strike, but officials at the phone company are angry about other vandalism going on.
Anyone who gives us information or feeds it through the police such that we get an arrest and conviction, that individual can receive a $10,000 reward from the company.
An unknown man for only the 3rd time in history, thanks to a unique way to search for a criminal. Call him John Doe. He's a serial rapist. The Suffolk County DA announced indictments in a series of rapes that took place between 1992 and 95. The suspect is still on the loose, but the charges arise from DNA evidence that matches all 6 attacks. All the rapes happened in the area of Babylon on Long Island.
That the number of incidents of vandalism have increased since the strike. The vandalism has hit Nassau County. In Wantagh, 250 customers lost phone service after someone cut a major wire. And in East Meadow, another 200 customers couldn't make phone calls after hundreds of telephone lines were ripped out of a telephone box. Police say a witness saw 6 men get out of a car and walk toward the boxes before she went into her home. So it is still unclear if the men destroyed the phone lines. It is just the latest.
The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office has a rape suspect, even though they do not have him in custody. But police do have his DNA and have matched it to several rapes that happened in Suffolk County between 1992 and 95. This is only the third time in history that rape charges have been brought against an unknown John Doe in a DNA case.
A second arrest has been made.
Governor Pataki signed a tough new gun law into effect. It requires safety locks on handguns, and you have to be 21 years old to buy a gun. And if you purchase one at a gun show, you'll have to undergo a background check. Christopher Jones has that story.
The new gun law was signed by Governor George Pataki at the Merillon Railroad Station on Long Island, where on December 7th, 1993, Cullen Ferguson opened fire on Long Island Railroad commuters, killing 6 and wounding 19 others.
Today we pass the strongest anti-gun violence legislation ever in America, and it's about time.
Among other things, the gun law will require mandatory trigger locks, ballistic fingerprinting to help trace weapons, and perhaps most significantly, background checks on gun buyers at gun shows.
It makes New York State the first state in America to close the gun show loophole in the Brady Bill.
My goal is not to cry.
Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy's emotion is understandable. Her husband Dennis was shot to death and her son grievously wounded on that train in the 1993 attack.
When I go back to Washington in September, I will take Governor Pataki's bill and I will hold it up to the floor. And I will say to all my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, this is what we can do to save lives when we all work together.
Christopher Jones, Fox 5 News.
Well, the disturbing stories of the abuse that goes on in some nursing homes, people being neglected horribly in their golden years. But despite all the attention over the years, things don't seem to be any different on Long Island, where a new investigation turned up some shocking results. Andrew Day has that story.
When Congressman Mike Forbes ordered a special investigation of nursing homes on Long Island, the results shocked him.
Of the 69 nursing homes that accept Medicare and Medicaid, that 40%, more than 40% of them, have some kind of violation.
Investigators found case after case of neglect. Residents left sitting alone for hours, eating the wrong foods, with bed sores and more.
They're putting helmets on residents of the nursing homes, even when they're sitting in a room and they're being supervised.
Not surprising to Vanessa Langer, whose 94-year-old grandmother has been in a nursing home for 2 years.
They stopped physical therapy, so now she's completely bedridden. It should have been kept up.
One of the worst offenders, according to state inspection reports, Our Lady of Consolation in West Islip. The nursing home had 4 violations that caused actual harm. Among them, failure to treat and prevent bed sores.
Pressure sores that actually, in my opinion, probably should almost never develop in a nursing home if good care is given. And pressure sores can lead to death.
We spoke to the home's administrator, Sister Harson.
Yes, they did find some problems, but within weeks they were back and the problems were corrected.
Sister Harson even invited us in to check things out unannounced and gave us complete access. We found what appeared to be a clean facility and plenty of satisfied customers.
They take care of her, she gets bathed, they feed her.
She never looked so much better.
Our next stop, Brunswick Hospital Center in Amityville. Investigators found serious violations here. When they saw us coming, we were quickly told to leave. Our cameras were not permitted inside.
I'm unaware of any study that's been out.
But Fox 5 has learned the administrator was very aware of concerns the State Department of Health had. Last year, the department found a need for significant corrections and identified substandard care at the facility. The Healthcare Financing Administration even denied payment for new admissions before things were finally cleaned up.
How could you not be scared when you see someone you love going down the drain when they don't have to?
Andrea Day, Fox 5.
Suffolk County police have arrested a man in a deadly stabbing that happened months ago. 20-year-old William Martinez has been charged with second-degree murder. Police say that in May, Martinez and 3 other men got into an argument. The suspect reportedly stabbed Jose Velasquez, who later died. No word on what sparked that argument.
The alleged lookout man in the
citizens live on Long Island alone. A Suffolk County congressman says most are fine places, but some, he says, too many are not the kind of places we'd want our aged mothers and fathers to reside in. When you've got a loved one in a nursing home, relatives must be a partner in his or her care, says Betty Gibbons, who's visiting with her mother tonight.
You have to stay on top of it. If you don't visit, then, you know. But we here 3 times a week. You know, if something's wrong, we talk to someone and it gets straightened out.
According to a new report on nursing homes on Long Island, there are a great number of problems that need to get straightened out. The report commissioned by Congressman Mike Forbes.
At least 40% of them were judged not to be in full or substantial compliance with federal standards.
Our Lady of Consolation here in West Islip, Suffolk County, tops the list when it comes to serious violations. Investigators finding a number of problems here, ranging from the staff failing to prevent and treat the bed sores of patients to failing to get doctors involved in the treatments of residents here. How do you feel?
Great.
And how do you like this nursing home?
I love it.
They treat you well here?
The best.
The best.
Uh-huh.
Joan Healy is a resident of Our Lady of Consolation. So is Thomas Nichols.
Yeah.
How do they treat you here?
Very well.
They take good care of you?
They certainly do.
A spokeswoman for the nursing home says the problems that were found back in December have now been fixed. Congressman Forbes is calling for federal legislation to increase staffing at the facilities and the level of care for our senior citizens, some of whom call the nursing home simply home for years.
2 years in September.
And everybody treats you well?
Yep.
And the food's good?
Food is, well, we once in a while get a lousy dinner.
A nursing home may be the only place they can go for the care they need, but according to a new report, some nursing homes may actually be doing more harm than good.
That more than 1/4 of the nursing homes had deficiencies that caused actual harm to residents or placed them at risk of death or serious injury.
And Congressman Forbes said many nursing homes are safe, but most problems occur at those with a lower number of staff members.
Bill and Earth.
Thank you, Jim. New York State now has one of the toughest gun laws in the nation, a law that is the first to close the gun show loophole. Governor Pataki signed the bill at the LIRR station in Garden City, where a gunman killed 6 people back in 1992. Long Island Congresswoman Carolyn McCarthy, whose husband was killed and son wounded in that shooting, was at Pataki's